In 1776, 90% of Americans were farmers fighting for our freedom. Today, that number is less than 2%, and the fight has never been more urgent. Later in this video, I'm going to show you guys one document from 1776 that proves the powers that be have always been afraid of independent farmers and ranchers. This is Yanasa TV. We're not here for opinions. We're here for facts and receipts. From the very beginning, farmers and ranchers were the very backbone of this country. Minutemen left their plows to stand at Lexington and Concord. Jefferson called the cultivators of the earth the most valuable citizens. Guys, agriculture wasn't a side job. It was independence itself. Food security meant national security. Self-reliance wasn't some sort of slogan. It was the very basis of survival. That foundation of freedom, guys, wasn't just a historical moment. It is a legacy that we are losing and some of us are fighting to save. Today, the battlefield isn't Lexington and Concord. It's zoning boards, backroom land deals. It's rules that make it harder for families to stay on their farms every single day. So here's that document that I said I would share with you. The Declaration of Independence, which was adopted in July 4th, 1776, 250 years ago today. Look at what the founding fathers actually listed as grievances as to why they had to leave centralized power. One grievance says the king raised the conditions of new appropriations of lands and tried to stop people from moving onto and working the land. Another complains that he sent swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. That, guys, is 1776 language for a lot of what farmers and ranchers are dealing with today. Rules that make it harder to use your own land. Layers upon layers of bureaucracy that show up on your land to tell you how to use it and what you can do, or what you can't do, what you can't sell to your neighbor, what you can't sell to your friends. Independent farmers and ranchers were dangerous to centralized power back then, and still are. They were dangerous because they could feed themselves and their neighbors, because they could defend themselves, and because they could think for themselves. Guys, that spirit is still what makes rural America strong today. And it just happens to be what many forces still want to get control over. Across rural America, from North Carolina to Idaho to Washington to Vermont, Texas, Oregon, that's another crazy one. Family farms and ranches are constantly under this pressure. Rules that cut off our water or give it to a higher bidder. Zoning fights that push people off their land or devalue everybody around them. A food system that could break with one warehouse fire, one disruption at the border. Look at how fragile we've become. 98% of farms and ranches in this country are still family owned. And yet they're squeezed constantly by consolidation. They're squeezed by policies that literally threaten our independent producers like they're the problem instead of the solution. But there's another way, and we're living it here at Yanasa Ranch, and we're sharing it every single day on Yanasa TV. Regenerative practices, native prairie restoration, raising livestock the right way. These types of things build resilience. Resilience builds freedom. Independence Day isn't just about fireworks and parades. It's remembering that freedom works on the land, in our families, in our communities. The spirit is still alive in places like this ranch and the hundreds of other ranches and farms that we've shared with you here on Yanasa TV over these great many years. We're not just rebuilding it 1 acre at a time on our own, but we're rebuilding it and educating one film at a time, one video at a time. Guys, look, if you're a farmer, if you're a rancher, if you're somebody out there who cares about food freedom, where your food comes from, stand with us, share this story, subscribe. Most importantly, support farms and ranchers in your area. Because folks like us out here, We're not just talking about problems, but we're living the solution. Now, I want to share with you guys a story. One that I think is very symbolic of this country. Before there were fences, before there were factories, before there were these supply chains that could literally break and snap overnight, bison, our national mammal, were here. They held the prairie together. They fed the people, even early settlers. They literally shaped the land that has become America. Ecologically, they are a keystone species. That story, the story of bison as keystone, the story of real regenerative freedom on the land. That's the story that our native film series is all about. It's the story of how ranchers, all on their own, no government law, no government rules, there's never been a law to protect bison, contributed to one of the largest conservation efforts in the entire world, if not the largest. Like I said, they saved a species from extinction without anybody telling them they had to. They were ranchers, just people like you and I, who recognized that in order to save the land, to protect it, we had to restore it, we had to maintain it. That's what American farmers and ranchers have done for generations. That is why so many people want their land, because it's pristine. If this Independence Day message hit home to you, I want you to see the bigger picture. It's a story of the land, it's a story of the bison, our national mammal, and it's a story about the families still fighting to keep both of them free and productive. This isn't just history. This is the fight for the future of American food and American freedom. And the bison, a symbol of our country, is still at the center of it.
You don't understand how big your documentary is. Your documentary changes everything across an entire nation.
There's nothing more real than growing up on a ranch. You know, you get to see the life.
Guys, this film series, Native: The Prodigies of an Icon, changes that conversation dramatically.
We started this project to share the stories of modern-day ranching and conservation.
We had no idea the gravity of just how much could be learned.
Part 1 of Native: The Prodigies of an Icon, Keystone, asks the question that a lot of these people feeding you these lies don't want you to have the answer to.
Humans have always believed that if land is being damaged by animals, there are too many animals. It is a false belief. They are the only thing that can reverse it. All large herbivores, elephants, bison, buffalo, giraffe, impala, kudu, duiker, it means all of them.
What role exactly are grazing animals supposed to play on this land?
If there's no room left in the world for large assemblages of large body-sized critters at large landscape scales, then we're facing a world that's going to be fundamentally different than the one we benefit from.
Long before carbon models and policy debates, millions, and I'm talking millions of ruminants, shaped soil, water, and ecosystems.
Most have gone over the whole of North Africa and up into China, vast areas of the world. We're left with nothing now.
This isn't just a bison film, guys. It's about grazing itself.
We need moisture for grasses and forbs that grow to decay as much as we need for them to grow. And we don't think about that often. We're thinking about, well, I wish it would rain again, but we don't think about once that rain has come and plants grow, how do they decompose and go back to the soil and regenerate the soil?
Soil health, water cycles, grassland restoration.
This country, now when I say this country, I mean from Mexico to Canada, the plains, the Great Plains, the breadbasket of our country, that that ecosystem was managed, dominated, and created with bison. For millennia, they have been roaming up and down these prairies and these plains. And the way they would do that is in huge herds. And that's how this grassland evolved. And that's what has made it such a productive grassland.
And it's about the misunderstood power that ruminants have on our ecosystem.
What bison and all large herbivores bring is the moist gut.
For ranchers, cattle producers, land stewards, this is a documentary that hits home.
Do you want to conserve something, you have to put a value on it. Nobody will pay for sunlight. What we're doing is we're converting that sunlight into a plant, and we're offering a pound of protein for sale.
Because here's the thing, if bison are probably one of the most important, impactful keystone species in North America, what does that say about the animals we manage on our lands every single day?
If you think about where's the only place above ground, year-round, in those areas where you have that moisture to decay, it's in the stomach or the ruminant of the animal. That's why we need the animal there. The forage has to go through the animal where the microbes are in the moist environment to decay.
Guys, the land, it speaks for itself.
This land was made for the animals were made for this land. So if you step back and think about that, the impact the American bison, the buffalo had on the sustainability of North America. The millions and millions that we hear that were out roaming, they managed the North American plains. As the bison migrated to their prairies and naturally migrated from the south to the north, they managed the land. They cultivated the land. Can you imagine 60 million animals, their hooves, cultivating the land and aerating it and adding fiber to the land through the manure, and then the First Nations people following them. So they're in a sense managing the migration of the First Nations people, but they sustained them. Just step back and appreciate that. That's intriguing. What animal has done that? What icon has done that?
Now, people keep asking me, how do I watch this film? Well, right now, Keystone, it had its premiere in January of 2026, hosted at the Alamo Theater in Westminster, Colorado by the National Buffalo Foundation during the National Bison Association Conference Week. But even after the premiere, the film is still not available because it does have to run through film festivals. These film festivals require some sort of premiere status. So what we're doing right now is we're offering pre-order DVDs. This is the fastest way that you will be able to watch this film. As soon as the film festivals end, these DVDs will ship out to you. You can watch the film, share it with your friends, and by pre-ordering, not only are you getting first access to the film, but you are also supporting us in helping create and finish part 2 of the film. This is a 3-part series, and you're also helping us market the film and get it out there so that people start to understand the significance, the importance that ruminants have on our environment. We're losing grazing land every single day in this country. Despite our best efforts to keep it, we're still losing grazing land. We're still losing ranchers. We're at the lowest herd size of cattle that we've been in. And the way that we get this done, the way that we help people understand, is by showing them the importance that these animals have on our ecosystem, on our environment, the necessity that they provide. Understanding Keystone, understanding the Keystone species, helps us understand how to manage these other animals, like many of the ranchers across our country are doing, in a way that preserves and protects our ecosystem. It evolved with these animals. It cannot exist without them. You're not just buying a film. You're backing a story that challenges the one-sided narrative that's been thrown in people's faces for years. You're backing the story that actually shows how conservation can be coupled with production. And you're helping us remind the world what these animals are actually doing out there. Be a part of the first wave. The people who buy now are the ones who are helping to get this message out to millions.
You can pre-order Part 1 of this film series, Keystone, it ships later this fall after it has finished its run on the film festivals. Your pre-order actually helps us finish and complete Part 1 and 3 of the film, which will explain a lot about the importance of our ranchers. Happy Independence Day from everybody here at Yanasa TV.